Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And we got a new setup and everything. I'm now going to start doing reviews now with my new mic, which I've been meaning to use for a good while. This is an AT2020 Audio Technica. And I'm actually super stoked to see what this is like. I've been meaning to try this out for some time, but I kept putting these kind of reviews off because I kept getting distracted by work, being mentally drained afterwards. And I was also trying to do like both Thrower's entire fourth album, The Fourth Crusade. I've only got like 4 videos done so far. But I really wanted to get back into this because I miss trying to interact with you guys. And for this review, I want to start off with just like going over bands that got me into music. When I was at a young age, I was listening to some of the rock and some of the early alternative, if we want to also call it like the new metal and the rap rock too. And I just really want to kind of share with you guys albums that really got me into it. And that's actually 7 artists that got me into it. I only got 6 right here, but I'm going to talk about the 7th one because it was actually on a radio station that we did used to listen to. And without further ado, let's jump into the review. I love it loud. Now this review, I'm not going to go into too much of the crazy details. I'm just going to kind of give you what my perspective was at a young age about listening to these artists and why I got into it and why it's still stuck with me to this day. So we'll start with the first one, and that is Three Doors Down. And this is the Better Life album. And the way we listened to these like albums back then, let's see, I had a Pioneer CDX 6-disc add-on changer. This is something my dad had. It was like right in the middle of the compartment between the 2 front seats, the driver's seat and then the passenger seat. And then there was the device, I think it was the Pioneer device itself on the dashboard. And we had the remote that was just able to like go through each song freely. So we just didn't have to like listen to the whole album the whole way through. We can just change to whatever song we wanted to. And looking at Three Doors Down, this one I consider like the greatest because you had Kryptonite, you had Loser, Duck and Run, and me and my dad, we really started loving like Not Enough and Be Like That. The other ones were definitely good in their own right, depending on like what you think. Like Life of My Own, Better Life, Down Poison, By My Side. Smack, which was actually my personal favorite. In fact, when I would re-listen to that song again, my parents would be like, why are we listening to this again? I'm thinking like, because I love this song. And then last song is So I Need You. And wow. We did get like some of their later albums, like Away from the Sun and 17 Days, but it seemed to like drop down afterwards. Like I started getting into more like the alternative metal, like in the later 2000s. That's actually when a friend of mine introduced me to the alternative metal scene, as well as alternative rock. But looking back, The Better Life, in my opinion, hands down, was their best album. I can't say nothing about it. I can't say a whole lot about this album, sorry. Kind of losing my words there. And now for the next one. Greatest Hits from Bruce Springsteen. Oh yeah. The funny thing about this was I never listened to like any of the Bruce Springsteen albums like the whole way through. Like the Born to Run, let's see, Nebraska, Born in the USA. But this one like combined like all of his greatest hits from those albums. So he had the Born to Run, Thunder Road, Badlands, The River, Hungry Hearts, Atlantic City, Dancing in the Dark, Born in the USA, which was actually my personal favorite. And when you're young, you really don't like pay attention to like what the lyrics are saying. I really just love that song because of just how the music was. I wasn't really paying attention to what the lyrics was. And when I found out in my later adult years, I was like, damn, now I feel like a jerk. Regardless, though, continuing on with the whole list of songs, My Hometown, Glory Days, Brilliant Disguise, another great one. Human Touch, that was also another favorite of mine. Better Days, Streets of Philadelphia, Secret Garden, Murder Incorporated, Blood Brothers, This Hard Land. Boy. You know what? It was always a little bit of a strange twist because some of the albums like here with Three Doors Down and Bush, which I'll get to in just a moment, they were like more of the rock, kind of a bit of a punk edge to it. And then it was like kind of a little bit of a shift when you got into Bruce Springsteen because it was like a different version of rock and roll. And think about it then, it was definitely a good thing to like get into it and learn like different kinds of music, especially the style that Springsteen was doing. But if I did have to say anything more about this album, it's just that this one definitely brings back the glory days as the song interprets. In fact, I know me and some of my aunts, we talk about a lot of stuff that Bruce Springsteen has done. And I felt bad because I didn't get into like any of his later works. I know he released like a couple albums, and one of them I got for Christmas, and I didn't get into it. I don't know what it was. I just was not mentally into it. So I feel bad there. And you know what? I started doing a little bit more into like the Born to Run. I know one of my aunts was telling me to like do Jungle Land for one of my drum covers, which I think it was like either a minute 45 seconds in or 2 minutes when there was like just like straight instrumental. There was no drums in it. Regardless, though, going back to the album here, greatest hits. This one definitely brings back. And then, as I mentioned before, we got Bush. More specifically, Bush X, because I guess there was a legal issue with the name that they were using. And actually, I don't know, did they actually use Bush X? Trying to see if they actually did use it on here. I actually thought they had changed it up slightly. No, this one actually just says Bush. Okay. I know when I was reading it, there was the funny thing with like a legal issue. I guess they had to like change it to Bush and then for like a little X down in like the bottom right corner. Regardless, though, 16 Stone. I can't honestly say nothing more about this. At least nothing bad about this album. I mean, everything's Zen, Little Things, Calm Down, Machine Head, Glycerin. I mean, this had like all of their great hits on here. Some of the songs, you could take it and leave it however you feel it, but Swim was a bit of an odd one, but looking back on it then, maybe I had judged it too soon. But, the ending's a little strange, but, it's just how their style play was. Bomb was mostly silent until you, like, get to, like, the one chorus, and then, like, even near the end of the song, which is, like, explodes, quote-unquote, into, like, the grand finale. I do know Body was, like, one of my favorites. And you know what? Boy. Looking back on that, I remember listening to that song. Like, I picked that one over Machine Head. And I guess it was because more of, like, how it just, like, got so much more louder in, like, the mid sections of the song. I didn't really pay attention to the lyrics. In fact, that's the funny thing about the lyrics with Bush. They don't really, like, have, like, a cohesive story or, like, any sort of message within them. For me, it just seemed like it was just talking about random stuff, and then it just flowed and it just worked because the music was driving it. Boy, man, this one was a good one. I know I was a little iffy with some of the songs, but you know what? This one I will consider was their best album overall. I know they came out with like some songs that were like pretty good. I know Golden State was like a good one. With like the People That We Loved, I know got some good airtime and even on some video games. But you know what? I don't think nothing beats this. Like, I'm just going to say that right now. Nothing beats 16 Stone. And now we start getting into the new metal or a little bit more of the rap rock. Oh, yes. It's Linkin Park, baby. And boy, when I was young, this was more when Chester was like doing more of the screamo stuff, which I was not used to as a young kid. In fact, my first introduction to it, I just did not want anything to do with it. But you know what? Looking back, this is without doubt a staple of Linkin Park's career right here. Paper Cut, One Step Closer, With You, Point of Authority, Crawling, Runaway, By Myself, In the End, A Place for My Head, Forgotten, Cure for the Itch, Pushing Me Away. I mean, the funny thing about like Linkin Park's like older stuff, it seemed like you could just take like any song from like this album, which is Hybrid Fury, Meteora, and maybe a good couple of songs from like Minutes to Midnight. And it would just work with like any montage video you just want to like throw in there. I mean, that's just like how good this music was. And Chester Bennington, rest in peace. We miss you, brother. Boy, this is when Linkin Park was absolutely dominant. And I did get like Meteora and Minutes to Midnight, but then it just dropped off because it was such a change after Minutes to Midnight, and I just did not get into the music that they were doing anymore. But without a doubt, I mean, Hybrid Theory. This album is one to remember by. Now we kind of go back to the late 70s, and I guess you also want to say early 80s, with Van Halen. And you know what? I really wish I got to see Van Halen live. Eddie Van Halen, also rest in peace. We miss you, brother. And boy, this one actually was not my favorite. In fact, my first one that I was listening to a lot was the 1984 album. And yeah, Jump on there. You had I'll Wait, some of the other songs, but it was definitely more. Oh wait, that was the one with Heart for Teacher. I'm sorry, Heart for Teacher. Oh my gosh, I absolutely loved Heart for Teacher. But I also had the cassette tapes for each of the Van Halen albums. I know my dad, he had collected those, and I remember just listening to like all the ones with David Lee Roth, and then he only had like a couple with the Sammy Hagar days. I guess it was the OU 812 and 5150 album. And boy, I just remember putting those in my boombox and then just listening to it. And really just dancing to them. I mean, I did not care about what the dance moves were. I just felt the groove in it. And you know what? You can't say enough about it. Eddie's playing was just divine, for lack of a better term. And then Mike Anthony and his brother, Alex Van Halen, and David Lee Roth. You know, no disrespect to Sammy Hagar. I mean, he's a great like vocalist and music artist in his own right. There's just no doubt that David Lee Roth was the man for Van Halen. And it was good to see Sammy try and come in. And it was a shame that it just didn't work out in the end. But hands down, without doubt, I mean, David Lee Roth and those albums in those days, they were the greatest. And now for album number 6, we got Vertical Horizon. And this one, I've actually been going in alphabetical order the whole time. But we got Vertical Horizon, and this is, without doubt, in my opinion, their greatest album, Everything You Want. Because, I mean, the first 4 songs just off this: We Are, You're a God, Everything You Want, Best I Ever Had, Gray Sky Morning. Then you start getting into like some of the other ones. You Say, Finding Me, Miracle, Send It Up, Give You Back, All of You, which is actually one of my dad's favorite songs, and Shackled. I do have like, I only have like one more of the albums in my cabinet over here. But man, you know what? It got me back into listening to Vertical Horizon. Believe it or not, when I was actually having surgery, they were playing Best I Ever Had in the background music. And I kind of laughed when I heard about it. And I know my doctor's like, stay still. And I'm like, I just know this song. And it just brought back so many memories. In fact, on the Pioneer CDX that I mentioned earlier, we would listen to albums like the whole way through from like 1 to 11, 12, however many songs there were. This one, I know we were driving down to Myrtle Beach the one time, listened to the song the whole way through, and loved every second of it. And that was what my dad brought up. And you know what? I did actually get, or at least went to listen like to like some of the MP3s and music on like Amazon Music. I think it was the album Go. Yeah, that's what it was. Go. And it is good to see like they're still doing music, but I think it's safe to say like this hands down was one of the greatest. And for the final artist, I did say there were 7, and unfortunately I did not have a CD for it. But this one, it was actually Metallica. And this is actually a good story. And one of the cool things living up here, and we had like a whole hour of Metallica music. It was, let's see, WXDX 105.9 did a whole hour of Metallica music. And it was like right at the dinner time. I think it was like 5 to 6. And me and my dad, we'd be going, pick my sister up from like dance recital and, you know, that whole thing. And we just listened to that the whole way through. And I can't really say like a specific album. I'm pretty sure they did like most of the music was like from their earlier days with like, let's see, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All. I'm pretty sure that was like the majority of the music. I'm sure they did like some of their later music around that time. But man, I just remember we were critiquing. I don't know if they actually did any with Dave Mustaine. I don't know if they did like any of the couple ones, but I know we were always commenting on like how great of a guitarist that Kirk Hammett was. And I mean, man, he could shred. And those were always fun. I didn't really understand it then, or like why their songs had to be like so much longer than like probably what the average song was. Because like the average song from like all these albums that I just mentioned, they would be anywhere in the range of like 3 to 4 minutes. I mean, Metallica's, if I'm not going to bump my mic anymore, Metallica's, they would go 6, 7, 8, probably close to like 10 minutes at times. And I just remember asking my dad, like, why are these songs so much longer than everyone else? And it's just their style of play. And you know what? Man, looking back at these albums, these really bring back the memories. And I am so happy that I brought them out. And I really am happy that I got to share it with you guys. And so, there's a nice little talk about all the albums that got me into music. And I'm actually curious to see what got you guys into music as well. Let me know in the comments about what you guys think about that. And you know what? If you guys also like, shoot me some questions. I'll see if I can give you some answers about like anything related to music. And you know what? Let's just have a nice conversation. I think that's what we really need like these days. Just having those kinds of conversations and getting to know each other a little more, I think really starts to build that trust. I think it really brings out the good in us as well. So if you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment below. If you guys know of any artists that are just starting out, or if you guys are in a band yourself, let me know in the comments as well. And if you guys like, I'll do a review on them. As always, you guys are welcome to subscribe and make sure you hit that bell notification so you can see more content like this in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned.